Hello, my name is Brian Smith and welcome to my office. You can watch this seminar as a YouTube video or listen to it as a podcast, wherever you get those from. There's also a published article which is slightly longer and is linked in the notes. My seminars are about the life sciences industry, so pharma, medtech, diagnostics and so on, which I've worked in and researched and written about for over 40 years now. I study the evolution of business models and strategy, and my aim is to give you a new way to think about those things in your business. So if I manage to achieve that, then please like, subscribe and share with your colleagues too who might be interested. And if you want to know more, then please get in touch and we can have a chat over coffee, either real or virtual. Now, in my job as a research professor, I go around life science companies asking about how they make and execute strategy. What I'm curious about, of course, is I want to know what it is that they do that gives them an advantage over their rivals. Now, the first thing I notice is that the strategic planning process is hardly ever a source of competitive advantage. Life science companies tend to buy the same market research from the same companies as their rivals, and they use similar planning templates, often created by the same consultancies, with similar levels of competence. Now, these similarities raise an interesting question, don't you think? If your firm and its rivals use the same strategic planning methods and the same information in the same way, how can you hope to have a stronger strategy than your competitors? In this episode, I'm going to summarise one of the most important answers to that question. I've also written about this in more detail in my accompanying article, but email me and I'll send that to you. In truth, there are several differences between those companies that are good at strategy and those who aren't. But some of the most interesting are the deeply embedded subconscious instincts of the key people who drive strategy in an organisation. In my research, I've uncovered 4 of these instincts. So let me give you the headlines, and if you want to know more, then just ask for the article. The first of these strategic instincts is framing. It's the term that cognitive psychologists use to describe how different people look at the same situation in different ways. Strong strategists frame the market differently from most people. Most people frame the market in terms of products and patient subgroups. They frame goals in terms of share, and they frame strategy as how to maximize sales and profit. In contrast, strong strategists frame the market as the problems that patients, professionals, and payers are trying to solve. They frame their goal as creating customer preference, and their strategy as how to shift that preference. Now, this might sound a little abstract, but as I describe in the article, it makes a big practical difference. So whenever I find a company that is creating a game-changing, highly differentiated competitive strategy, it's almost always because their strategists began with strong framing instincts. The second of these instincts is asking. That's the strategist instincts about learning. Strong strategists always ask more questions than most people, but they also ask them differently. Most people ask questions aimed at getting specific, often quantitative answers. For example, they ask how big a market is, how much share a rival has, and when will the new competitor be launched. Strong strategists ask these questions, but they also ask questions that can't be answered quantitatively. So, for example, if we did this, what do we think would happen? Or why do our customers behave like that? Or my personal favourite is, which of our current ideas about how the market works best fits the facts that we see on the ground? Those sorts of questions work because they either surface some important information or they reveal critical gaps in our knowledge. I go into more detail about this in the accompanying article, but the strategic instinct to ask questions like this really does have a significant impact on strategy making. Whenever I ask why a firm has adopted an original winning strategy, I'm often told, well, we know something that our competitors don't. The third strategic instinct I've seen is concentrating. That's the instinct about how to focus resources. Strong strategists focus resources more than most people, but they also focus differently. Most people tend to spread resources evenly across the market so that risk is spread. They also allocate resources between tangible categories like types of customer, or type of product, or media channels. And they focus those resources on traditional points of difference, such as product claims or efficacy. Strong strategists instinctively focus much more tightly. Then they try to create overwhelming superiority in some parts of the market by pulling resources away from other parts of the market. Instead of tangible categories, they focus on decision contexts, where the combination of patient, professional and payer type is most favourable. They also focus on what will create customer preference, such as value beyond the product, rather than efficacy or product claims. You have to look beneath the surface to see how this concentration instinct works, but it makes a substantial difference. Whenever I ask a strong strategist what their strategy is, they begin by saying, let me start by telling you what we've stopped doing. The fourth strategic instinct is tasking, the instinct that influences strategy execution. All strategists worry about execution, but strong strategists worry about different things. Most strategic planners worry about the execution process, especially efficiency and metrics. But strong strategists think less about process and more about people, especially their effectiveness and commitment. In practice, this is a very subtle instinct. Strong strategists begin with giving ownership of critical success factors to those best placed to execute them. Those people are given resources, freedom, and are trusted to get on with the job. Sign-offs, metrics, and alignment meetings are kept to a minimum. When I watch this in action, it's really very different from the endless meetings that I see happening in other firms. In the accompanying article, I use an acronym for these 4 habits: framing, asking, concentrating, tasking, fact. I think these fact strategic instincts explain a lot about why some firms are good at strategy and others aren't. But there's one other thing I'd like you to take from this episode. Although I've called these things instincts, I don't want you to think that they can't be learned. When I ask strong strategists where their instincts came from, they tell me that they learn them from a combination of experience and being taught by strategy experts. So if you think your own strategic instincts are not as strong as you would like, that's not a problem. It's simply an opportunity for you to learn. Thanks for joining my seminar. If you found it worth your time, then please like, subscribe and share with your colleagues who may be interested. If you'd like to read my article about strategic instincts in pharma and medtech companies, then please send me an email. If you'd like to browse through the 300 articles, papers and books I've written about strategy in our industry, then take a look at my website in the links below. But if you'd like to talk more about how my work can help improve your business, then please send me an email and we can set up a virtual coffee. I'd love to hear from you.